Because real health is about being good to yourself. It's time for Body Kindness, the place where all bodies fit and weight is just a number. Hi, I'm Rebecca Scritchfield, author of the book Body Kindness, registered dietitian nutritionist, certified exercise physiologist, and host of this podcast. In this episode, I catch up with fellow former chronic dieter, Bernie Salazar. I think you're really going to love our chat. We close out how we did with the Yoga Month Challenge, and we also discuss what's coming up next for us on the podcast. Bernie shares what his visit was like at the doctor's office, and he is having some difficulty with framing up his self-care mindset. So I do my best to help him there. Hope it helps you as well. And then he brings up something that's really bothering him on social media. And then I share my story of something that also bothers me. And we pretty much agree that what is happening isn't right and needs to be called out in different ways. This is my warning for you that if you are around children or listening in a place where you might want headphones, if there are swear words, that would be a good idea to go ahead and make those available now. And I really hope you enjoy our conversation and the theme that we announce for next month's podcast at the end of the show. It's easy to become a Body Kindness Insider. Just visit bodykindnessbook.com and click Get Started on the homepage. Give your name and email and you'll get instant access to my free e-course. You're going to get a video about 5 health rules to break. I'm also going to give you a reflection and goals packet. You'll get a free chapter of my book, Body Kindness, if you don't have it already. And you're going to get one of my clients' favorite tools, and it's awareness building health and happiness journal that allows you to observe your day-to-day body kindness progress without counting calories, wearing trackers, and all those other things that just end up making you feel not good enough. Plus, you're gonna get my tips and best inspirations over email. So if you're not yet a Body Kindness Insider, visit bodykindnessbook.com. Click Get Started, sign up. You can get going on your journey right away. And I will be sending you some check-in emails, including an invitation to our free Facebook group that is just for Body Kindness Insiders. I'll see you there. Hey there, listeners. It's Rebecca, and I've got Bernie here with me today.
Rebecca, how are you, everybody? I'm so happy to be back on this wonderful podcast. I have some stuff to share today, Rebecca.
Yes, it was funny because I sent Bernie an email with some thoughts. I said, yeah, it'll probably be about 30 minutes. I keep trying to shorten the length of the podcast. And then we just had a chat about a few things, and this is not going to be 30 minutes, but we will see what we can do. But first things first, we are wrapping up this September Yoga Month, Body Kindness Yoga Challenge. So I do want to start there. When I started the challenge for this month, it was really all about connection and connecting to your body. And the big ask for listeners was to try and establish and build a better connection with your body and be open to ways that the power of yoga could help you with that. So whether you took a breath for, one breath, or a minute of breathing, or maybe you did one yoga pose at home, a home yoga workout. There's lots of free stuff on YouTube, or you actually went to a class. This was the encouragement, and Bernie and I were, trying it along with you. We heard from a couple great yoga experts, and I guess Jelly with Curvy Yoga, and then we also heard from Melanie Klein, who's the co-author of Yoga and Body Image, and then her forthcoming book. So lots of great stuff this month, and I've loved what you've been putting out on Instagram, but I haven't had a chance to see what Bernie has been doing, if anything at all, around yoga and connection. So that's the first question, B. How did you do at the challenge?
So I'm going to go ahead and put out there the fact that yoga is one of the most challenging things for me personally, for two reasons. First of all, it forces you to form a very intimate connection with yourself, which is exactly what it's meant to do. And also the poses and the stances, depending on which one you get into, they are difficult, especially for me. And there's always ways to modify it. So I don't want to use any of that as an excuse. But one thing that I have been doing is I have been taking a lot of time, especially in the morning before I start with my day, to just really meditate a bit and to start just really taking the time that I need to just be. And that has been tremendously wonderful. As far as the full-blown yoga, I have not jumped into that. And I'm going to go ahead and admit that I have found myself a couple times. And this is where I struggle with posting it. So I'm going to be really open and transparent here. Like the child's pose, yeah, I'm doing it. That's the truth. But I'm thinking to myself, well, how do I post that? And is that kind of enough for the yoga challenge? So I need to go ahead and just do it, because the truth is I am proud of myself for taking more time to meditate and take a minute to breathe. And that's just what I'm doing and where I am. So I'm going to do that, because I know we have some listeners out there who are probably in the same boat that I am. And you know what? Yes, it counts. Yes, I'm giving myself credit. And I'm going to go ahead and start posting some pictures of my child's pose.
Yeah, you should share it with everyone. And look, yoga is breath. So you are doing it, you're putting effort into it, and you're like probably a lot of people who I feel like you either love yoga and do it all the time, or you love yoga and you try to do it, but you want to improve, or you hate it.
And I'm on the border of loving to dislike it. That's where I'm at. And let me tell you why. Because I start off in a very good place. Like, let's get centered. Let's think about all the positive. Let's bring in the positive. Let's exhale the negative. Let's positive thoughts. And then I start trying to engage in some of the movements. And then my mind shifts to, why can't I hold this pose? I'm sweating way too much. My knee is a little bit sore. Gosh, I hope I don't fart. I mean, talking about, like, my mind goes way away from where I want to be, which is more centered and more focused, and for it to be calm. Because I don't know about you, Rebecca, or our listeners, but I literally look like the main character from Flashdance after I get through with a class. And let me tell you, it is not as sexy on me as it is with her. So that's my
I'm
issue.
a maniac on the floor. Is that's Flashdance, right? Oh gosh. Oh, that's funny. What's wrong with sweat? I mean, okay, look, you're
that's cute when you glitter and glisten, but I literally look like something that could be shot on National Geographic. Like, it is excessive. I sweat just thinking about sweating. So the point that I'm getting is, I really do enjoy the meditation aspect of it, taking time to really focus on myself. But as I get into some of the movements, I find it sometimes distracting, because my mind goes to a place where I'm sure some of our listeners' minds go to, which is, oh gosh, I can't hold this, or I'm the one falling over in, this pose or that pose. And my warrior pose looks more like a almost barely defend myself pose. It's interesting.
Well, I mean, look, you're not alone. I guarantee you there are listeners who can relate to this. And what's so interesting is that the very thing that could help you overcome that inner critic voice and that monkey mind that's jumping around, and what if this and what if that, and oh my God, this and that, and the sweating and the farting and the da-da-da-da-da. Yoga helps you with the monkey mind. If you're in a yoga that makes you feel where you're belonging, you are breathing, that ujjayi breath that Melanie and I talked about on our interview. It's at the Darth Vader, that. And you just get that going. It is so awkward at first, but then you bring your attention to the breath. You're doing yoga, flowing through the poses, holding yourself with compassion is noticing that thought And then reconnecting to the present moment. Right now, I'm just flowing in the class. Right now, I'm just holding triangle pose. Right now, I'm just taking a savasana, whatever it is. Like, it's noticing where the mind is going. And even if it is going to a critical place, like, that's just the brain kind of going off. That inner critic voice will get louder, especially when we're feeling vulnerable. And the more we try to fight that voice and say, don't think these thoughts, don't do it. It's like that game of tug of war. It's going to pull back harder. But the practice of mindfulness, of focusing on the present moment, of focusing on your breath, which you get through good yoga classes, also helps you build self-compassion. It helps you notice those thoughts, but not react to them and just keep going. And then it's not only the benefit of that during the movement, right? And the stretch benefit and the energy giving benefit and the muscle tone benefits or all those other physical things that we might think of, but it's also the benefit of when you're not in a yoga class and, life happens and you feel that downward spiral of emotions, you know what I'm talking about? Like, that's when that caregiver voice can come in and say, hey, this is what's happening right now. And it's okay. It's okay to have these thoughts. It's okay to have this urge. What do I need right now? And to take it back to breath. I mean, it is a mind-body connection. You engage the parasympathetic system, which is calming and relaxing, and it gets you out of that anxiety, fight or flight system that makes it difficult to make self-care choices. So, you don't have to only do yoga during the yoga month and that, officially that challenge for body kindness is over. But you can always keep trying. That's just the name of the game. I just really wanted to offer an opportunity to present different ways that yoga could help people better connect to their bodies and make the self-care choices that you really want to make, because it's really, really easy to fall into our traps of our typical daily habits and make the choices that we really don't want in the long term. And yoga is available to you anytime you want to start it.
I agree with that. And I mean, I think that one of the difficult parts you just hit on for me is the fact that it really is that mind-body connection, right? Because if I'm doing boxing or kickboxing, or if I'm doing circuit training, like those types of things, your body's exhausted, it's tired, but it doesn't allow you the space. At least it's not promoted in most classes to allow you the space to really think about mentally how that movement's affecting you, right? It's not so much, it's more body, right? And I can push through that kind of stuff. Like I enjoy that kind of stuff. But when I'm confronted with yoga, it really is that let's be still, let's slowly move into a movement, let's breathe with it, let's it's like you said, it's just so much more mental, and that's where all those thoughts kind of creep in and some of that self-doubt comes in. So, I mean, honestly, with how I work and what I've observed is, yoga is definitely difficult for me. And I think that has to do more with the mental than the physical for me. And I'm glad we're talking about it, because again, I know I'm not alone out there. And I'm definitely willing to continue to kind of give it a try and keep moving with it, because I know that the meditation aspect of it most definitely has been really beneficial for me. It has allowed me to expel a lot of that negative talk, or at least confront it, allow it in and then allow it out. And that's that I've always struggled with. So for that, I'm very grateful for the yoga challenge. And I agree. The more you do it, the better you're going to be at it in general. So I have not at all written it off. Mm-hmm. I'm just being really honest with how with our listeners.
Okay. Well, I think we can safely move on to the next agenda item for our check-in today. So I really don't know how to start this except just ask you to share what we were talking about when you said, hey, are we recording? And I said no, and then you kind of unloaded some stuff on me. So how do you want to bring this up?
So we're going to jump right in. I think that was the perfect intro, actually, because a lot of
dumped
times,
a bag of shit on your desk. Here you go.
Pretty much. So a lot of times I dump my man bag contents onto Rebecca's.
Edit man bag contents. I don't want to know what that is.
Oh my gosh, you are so Rebecca. All my luggage baggage, I really do bring to her, and it usually happens in the form of, okay, we're getting ready to do the podcast, but I have something to share really quick. Are we recording? Okay, good. Not. Let me tell you this. So Rebecca's calling me on that right now. So thank you for that. And what I unloaded today was the fact that I did mention last check-in that I was revisiting my primary care physician because I was feeling just really low energy. And I thought, okay, time to check in again and make sure that everything's okay. I had done it at the beginning of the year. Everything came back fine.
When you say everything came back fine, be specific. So you got labs again because you wanted them to test for heart issues, diabetes issues, all that, or vitamin, minerals?
Pressure, vitamin, I've just been feeling really tired. So I wanted to see if there was anything, medically up with me.
They know you're a parent, right?
Yeah, well, that's just it. So instead of the doctor actually, he dove right in with just saying, well, so how's your daughter? And how old is she now? That's why I really like my doctor. And then he proceeded to say, well, it seems as though, the reason for your visit is you're feeling low energy and this or that. And, I want you to know that it's pretty normal for that to be the case with a parent, and especially one of a young child. And, we've talked about this before, you are carrying a little bit more weight than maybe is ideal for your frame. And, how are you sleeping? And so he hit on all the points.
And, so wait. What do we say? I blow whistle if I had it, honk my horn, whatever you want to say. He was the first person to bring up a concern about your weight, or were you the first person to bring up a concern?
So, I don't like you today.
I'm just saying.
So yeah, I mean, I definitely, again, listeners, I am all about body kindness, but I struggle daily to really make sure that I'm being kind to myself and following what Rebecca and I talk about. But yeah, I brought it up. I said, I feel like I've put on some weight. The scale confirmed it because I was down the last visit, and I really am not a scale person. But I do step on it for the doctor. And that's when all those thoughts rush in, right? Like, oh gosh, you're up, or this or that. And, it showed that I was up 6 pounds from my last visit. And I did share with Rebecca that for me, that's actually pretty good because I was expecting for it to be more. And the reason why I was expecting it to be more is because I've been very busy professionally. And of course, with everything personally, being the dad and the husband and running around, I thought it was going to show more. So although it was good, your mind still goes to, oh boy, it's, I still gained and this and that. So yes, I brought it up and he just confirmed it. And that's what I really like. Again, I like that about my doctor. I look for this doctor specifically because he doesn't always just say, you need to lose weight. This is this is that. Like, he really tries to get to the core of everything. But he said, yeah, I mean, you brought it up and yeah, for your frame and you might find yourself having more energy if you brought down the weight a bit. So I brought it up.
Okay. And that's all he said? Brought down the weight a bit?
Yeah, I mean,
you didn't talk numbers, you didn't talk BMI, you didn't talk. Okay.
No, not at all.
I like this doctor too. Sort of.
I was surprised. I was because, I mean, I've touched on this type of stuff with him when I first signed on with him. Mm-hmm. And he knows about my experience on the show and all this. But I have been pleasantly surprised with the way that our conversations go. Mm-hmm. And part of me still, in some weird masochistic kind of way, is looking for that little butt kicking, right? Mm-hmm. And I don't know what the deal is, but yeah, he doesn't do it for me.
Okay, so you have a weight concern. You kind of had it it sounds to me almost like this gentle agreement that yes, this could help improve energy, but it sounds like he more strongly acknowledged that being a parent is freaking hard work and it is very energy draining, but like metabolically, there's nothing wrong with you. Is that a fair assessment of what your doctor said?
That is a fair assessment because they definitely, we did the blood tests and all this and everything came back and everything, is medically where it needs to be.
Okay, so where do you want to be? If you could snap your fingers and like, ta-da, here's Bernie Salazar. Tell me what's in your mind.
So for me, I am, at this point, and life is full of cycles. At this point, I'm feeling as though my child has a lot more energy than she did even yesterday. So I am not keeping up with her in the way that I feel I want to be keeping up with her. What I mean by that is small things like being able to, I don't know, carry her for extended periods of time. Not that that's what she's wanting, but at the same time, I'm finding myself out of breath, chasing her a little bit quicker than I want to be out of breath. Like I'm acknowledging the fact that that's just parenthood, right? It doesn't matter if I was at the top of my fitness peak or wherever, mentally I think that is, but I'm still going to be tired. But I know that I am not keeping up with her the way that is going to make me feel good about the way that I'm parenting. I feel like I'm not keeping up with this little gremlin, and it's killing me.
Okay.
And it's not that I'm not keeping up, right? Because I do feel that is a normal part of being a parent. I'm getting a little tired a little bit quicker than, in my mind, I should be.
So your mind is basically saying, hey, if you lost some weight, you'd have more energy and you could keep up with your kid.
Yeah, absolutely. Or I wouldn't be as tired.
You're failing. You're failing as a father because of 6 pounds? I mean, really?
No, well, it's not. No.
What do you want? Do you have like a number in mind? Like how far? That's kind of what I'm trying to get at. Like, I mean, you said you have the weight concern, but then you're telling me it's like, it's just low energy. You have an explanation for the low energy. You've heard from a medical professional, a doctor, your doctor who you trust, that there's not a metabolic problem here, that parenting is hard, it is energy draining, and that these are the likely issues. But that's not enough because you're failing as a father. And I don't know, it's like not good enough. So there's some amount of perfectionism there, but that session was not enough to alleviate your concerns about your weight. So I'm trying to dig and understand how you truly honestly feel. I know you're on the Body Kindness podcast, so you probably feel like a jerk being honest, but you have to be honest.
Well, absolutely. And we talk about this, and I'm very honest, with you. And sometimes, when we hop on and we press record, it gets scary. But I've told you before, and I definitely want to make sure I'm sharing this with the listeners. Yeah, it's a constant struggle for me when it comes to thinking about weight in relation. So, I mean, I know that I've come such a far and a long way, but it's definitely difficult sometimes when I feel like I could be leading a more active lifestyle or be doing more active things. I don't know what that is, by the way. Like, I don't think I'm going to go rock.
That's classic. That's a classic inner critic. Will just say stupid shit to you and give you no validation.
So, yes. So what I like about, we are, man, this is just really deep today. For me, this is hard because yes, I will think about things like, damn, I really wish I was down, so much, such and such a number, because at that point I would look the part and feel the part, and me and my kid would be, mountain climbing and, yeah, right. Okay. Like, I know that's ridiculous. And that's where the body kindness comes in. It's like, yeah, whatever. But at the same time, you're eating great meals with your daughter. They're nice and healthy. We're going for walks. She's loved. She shows like everything. Like, I know.
So that's a caregiver voice. So you hear the critic and your caregiver comes back in.
It's there. But then let me tell you what else trickles in, even with the caregiver voice, is, yeah, Bernie, but you're not really taking the time you need to be where you want to be. That would make you feel just happier than you are even now. And what I mean by, or at your closer to where you would feel at your peak, as a parent, not as, some game show contestant or a wannabe fitness model or, somebody on the cover of a magazine. No, it's just like, Bernie, yeah, you're doing great. Yeah, your kid's happy. Her days are filled with laughter. I get a couple breakdowns a week, which to me is a triumph. But you would be a little bit happier if you were physically taking care of yourself more so. So it's a critical caregiver voice is what it is.
Okay. Well, a caregiver voice can have compassion for you and point out how to better align with your values.
Well, it's being hard on myself too, Rebecca, in the way that I'm literally telling myself, which is true, you're not taking enough time to focus on yourself. So it's not even a number on a scale or being able to carry my kid 23 hours out of a 24-hour day. It's just the fact that I know I'm not taking the time that I need to feel as though I'm paying myself enough attention. And when I do that, when I allow myself space to either go on a walk by myself or go to a gym or take a yoga class or take a cycling class, whatever it may be, at least throughout my day when I have some of these negative thoughts, which I know some of our listeners out there may have, I can respond by saying, you know what, Bernie, don't be ridiculous. You're taking time for yourself. You just did this, and hey, it is what it is. So I think my inner critic and what I'm being a little hard on myself right now, the reason for that is I know I'm not taking the time to soup up my tool belt to combat some of that negative thought. And that's the truth.
Mm-hmm. My concern for you is that all your past experiences around, air quotes, getting healthy have been around losing weight. And that just has a big concern for me because of the science, I think that having any attachment to the idea that you control the number, your appearance, and that you have a personal ability and responsibility to get a certain, whether it's look, number on the scale, assumption that you would feel a certain way for getting it, that's all wrong.
Yeah.
And when you have those thoughts, those are thoughts from a critic, even if they sound compassionate. So the issue is about well-being, right? Absolutely. I feel the pressure too about not, being satisfied with the amount of time that I give to myself, not only just for, exercise and that sort of the self-care things you need to do, good sleep. It is a constant progress, not perfection, pulling that caregiver voice, or just catching up on that sleep because that is what is needed. So I'm right there with you. But I think that a lot of times the critic and the not good enough and Mr. Perfection, right, that he can come at you feigning compassion. Hey, I'm your friend. Of course you'd feel better. It takes it to you need to weigh less in order to get these better benefits, but instead to frame a caregiver voice around, I'm not satisfied with the number of days a week I give myself for the kind of fitness classes I want to do, and so then you could say, okay, well, what do I think is doable? Is it a certain number of classes a week? Is it a certain number of minutes? And if you couldn't get to the in-person kickboxing, could you do 15 minutes at home on a DVD or on a YouTube channel? So there's nothing wrong with noticing things that you're dissatisfied in, but it really should be a list of actions that are decisions that you can control and not weight commentary, because that will send you down the wrong path.
I dig that, and that's why I'm glad we're talking about this and putting this all out there, because absolutely that is my default, right, to go towards that, and even in working with you for the time that we've been together, it's crazy that it still goes directly back to, well, if it was just a couple of pounds, instead of, like you said, framing it in a way of what type of classes do I want to be taking, how often can I be taking them, maybe setting a goal example of something that I know to me is personally fun and gratifying, like pull up, and knowing that I can allow myself time to get there again. One thing that being a parent has really taught me, which I am just eternally grateful to my daughter for, is the fact that miraculous things don't always happen miraculously.
Ooh, I love that.
Yeah. And that's what I really am just so grateful to her for opening my eyes to is, the miracle of walking did not happen overnight. The fact that she's able to, or in the process of learning how to use a spoon, is so much fun, but has not happened overnight. The speech that she's developing, again, is not happening overnight. And these are huge things, right? And to be able to put that into context in my own life has really helped me start framing some of these things so that when thoughts like the ones that we just discussed come into my mind, I know they need to be gone. I'm still learning every day on how to reframe them. So I really appreciate, you throwing and reminding me exactly different ways to start looking at what's going to make me just healthier all around, not just physically or even just mentally,
Yeah. I mean, maybe the work for you, it has to do with the way you make choices, right? So, for example, anyone who's trying to change habits, and it sounds like you keep talking about exercise. So is that the main one that you would like to increase, physical activity?
Yeah, because I mean, as far as like my diet's concerned, like again, I'm happy with it. I mean, I eat what I prepare for my daughter, for the most part. And when I don't feel bad about what I'm putting in my body. Yeah, no, not at all.
And in the past, let's just briefly rehash it. In the past, you had a lot of all or nothing thinking around food, good, bad person, bad person, binge eating or sneak eating. That was all part of your life, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I would literally do lines of pizza and just kind of walk out of the restroom like, yeah, that was great.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the truth. And it happened more so after my experience on the show, because before then, I'll tell you what, like I knew that I wasn't where I wanted to be health wise or food wise, but I was like that fat funny guy. Like I embraced it. Like, yeah, dude, I can down a whole pizza. Check this out. If you pay, I'll do it. Because I wasn't going to get caught paying for it and perform. But I was a little bit more okay with that. Then after my experience on the show, it got more into more guilt around eating the quote unquote the wrong thing. I didn't know that you could enjoy a cookie and still not, and still be a good person.
I know. That's diet culture for you.
Yeah. So all that has definitely really just calmed extremely down.
So it is so important to celebrate the good and to notice the things that are already going well. That is what a caregiver would do. Okay. Yeah. And then you approach this, okay, I'm not satisfied with the amount of time I'm getting for the type of exercises I want to do, and be aware that so say you sit down and you schedule them, you find childcare help, you work it out with your team at home to figure it out. Then becomes the scheduling part, right? Then comes actually taking action once it's been scheduled. And then which can be hard because in the moment, if you're feeling like you need sleep, or in the moment, if you're feeling like you're tired, right? All those things are going to get in the way. But for you, the body kindness choice could be noticing that you're feeling tired, or noticing that you're feeling vulnerable, like, I really don't want to sweat a lot. Or, your critic might be saying, you're going to look ridiculous in this class. You see what I'm saying? And so then, of course, you're going to want to avoid that pain, the pain of even going. So then it's easy to come up with a reason like, oh, well, you're really tired. Maybe you should rest. Or, oh, you really needed to get this other thing done. There's just too much to do.
No, I get it. And it's so interesting because when it comes to different type of physical activities or workouts, like I am that person that's like, whatever, like I'm totally getting in there and doing this. But it's the ones that require you to be a little bit more pensive and thoughtful and connected. Yeah. I'm like, no.
Okay.
No,
okay. Yeah. So for you, once you schedule it, you're going no matter what. Nobody's like, they'd have to drag you away and hold you down to keep you from going.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, for the most part, I definitely like to keep
Okay.
keep those types of appointments. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So then it goes to
What's up there, right?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, what's up
I
there? Of
will
course,
talk to a client about, you know what, just get dressed and this client who has this amazing gym with this amazing spa. I mean, I'd love to be a member there. And I was like, well, put clothes on and just walk and touch the door, you know? And I was like, if you touch the door, then tell yourself, I don't have to exercise today. I can just go right to the spa. But then just see if you can walk 5 minutes on a treadmill or something.
Stop. Like, I don't know if that would work for me, Rebecca, because that door would be full of handprints. Especially if there was a spa connected to it. Because
I know, that's why I was like, just go and do the spa. I don't, you know, like go and enjoy. And there was a particular reason why he was avoiding, and it had to do with not only overcoming an injury, but he was supposed to do a fundraising ride that he couldn't do because of the injury. So felt all this guilt and shame around how his body betrayed him, and basically was avoiding taking care of his body through movement, which he knew he rationally needed to deal with his mood issues that he was having. And it didn't matter about rational thinking. It was this idea that it was emotionally hard for him to get there. So there was this whole baby step approach that we took. Anyway, though, circling back to you, so once you figure out what you need and get it scheduled, then it's that values-driven goal, right? So it's not about weight. I want to be the kind of person who ... filling in the blank of the action. So, and that is that, having that, you know, like, and so that would be what you would want to think about, you know, is it simply schedules and completes fun group exercise a certain number of times a week, you know, like it can be a run-on sentence, but it's like that. What are you trying to take meaningful action on in your life? And that's where I would focus your brain away from body weight. You know, the truth of it is, it's just that's not the thing that we control. But if you think of all the other reasons why you want to do these classes, and you mentioned fun, you mentioned more energy, you mentioned feeling better, you know, you've already mentioned lots of reasons. So if you focus on those things, and it sounds like if you felt permission to take the time, if you felt you had permission to take the time, then after that, it would be pretty much smooth sailing.
Yeah, and it's interesting you say that, right? Because I definitely got out there and was able to do a lot of presentations nationally and this or that. And I would have parents come to me kind of talking the same way I'm talking right now. And I like the fact that you said, you know, give yourself permission, because as a parent, you're like, okay, wait, how can I be taking an hour when the truth is, you know, this isn't done or this isn't done, or the kid, you know, all of a sudden, you know, is still in their pajamas. And, you know, it's like, hold on. And I remember saying this. And I'm going to kick myself now. I should literally kick myself right now, because I'm like, no, you know, put yourself in this and that. And if you're good, and it's so much easier said than done, right? But man, I get it. Man, I could laugh at just unknowingly and trivializing it. And again, very innocently doing that, not having been in that position, and now realizing it can be a very real obstacle, and one that, as we're discussing, can be addressed, and especially when you allow yourself the permission to really put yourself first, because it's needed. It is. And it's definitely easier said than done.
Yeah, you are worth it bracelet. Dig that thing out and put it back on.
Yes. I'm going to get a new one. I'm going to get a new one, because that one's probably, that one, I need to get another one. I like it. You're right.
Okay. Well, yeah, I think that's a good thing to focus on. Keep me posted. And the other thing I want to bring up is the possibility that you may still be struggling with your sense of good enoughness, right? So, I mean, I guess like the blanketly body image, right? But like letting yourself be in your current body while you work to make meaningful changes that are important to you. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I can see some of that. Definitely not as much as before, but yes, it still exists. I'm happy to say that I do feel that it no longer casts a huge shadow over my day to day, but it does creep up and does creep in. Yeah, I mean, it no longer drags me down the way it did before, but definitely there are moments where I'm like, come on, dude, like, this is where you should be, or this is what it is. But I tend to expel those a lot quicker.
Yeah. Well, I don't think you're alone in any of that. And just remember that idea of holding two opposites. So on the one hand, there are times when you feel dissatisfied about the number or your appearance, and you tell yourself things like, you'd be happier if da 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 da. But there's so many factors that influence that. And we tend to just blame ourselves. And that's not necessarily true. So whether it's the responsibilities of being a parent, and especially in America, it's not family friendly with respect to jobs and time and childcare and all this stuff. There's just a lot that goes into even being able to manage your time. And so it's like, allow yourself to make space and presence that sometimes you have those feelings. While on the other hand, I'm going to stay fully committed to my body kindness practice, meaning I make choices from a place of love. I connect to my body and give myself what it needs, and I stay fully committed to taking good care of myself.
Yeah, no, and I'm glad we brought this up. I think it's important for me to really hear from you, to know that our listeners are realizing that this is not something that just kind of, you read your book once and it just kind of, gets integrated into your life. And we have to constantly revisit it, constantly talk to ourselves from a place of kindness, and reframe what we have been taught by society since I was born. Argue since most of our listeners were born. Yeah, so I'm on board with you here.
Cool. All right. So do you want to take a couple minutes and talk about the Instagram, dude?
Oh, you are so evil today.
Why? What?
Because, all right, we are just, so I don't know if you guys have noticed, our listeners, but Bernie keeps it pretty PC, right? And Rebecca's the rabble rouser. And that's why I'm friends with her, because she says a lot of things.
You're too nice, Bernie.
Yeah, you say a lot of things I want to, but I don't. But I did bring up prior to this recording session that I wasn't necessarily super thrilled with a fellow past BL contestant for some of the things that he's putting out on Instagram. And you know what? I'm not going to make it easy for our listeners by just giving a name. I'm not. But I do want to – it just makes it easier for me to be honest in this whole thing, Rebecca. How about that?
Okay.
All right. Oh, you're so – if you could – so Rebecca and I do this video thing while we podcast, and she's making some faces at me.
Side-eye. I'm side-eyeing him.
You are. You totally side-eyed me. This particular past contestant does do some health consulting and so on.
Air quotes on the health.
Yes, air quotes on the health. And
air quotes on motivational speaker.
Yeah, so had mentioned something about, and I'm going to go ahead and just pull it up, darn it. Said something to the effect of, smart people hide behind slogans to distract from the fact that they're failing in an area like their weight. And it says examples. The scale does not define me. You should love yourself just the way you are. I'm good with food. It's the exercise I struggle with. And then, they go on to caption, stop the excuses. And so I'm looking at this two ways. First of all, it angers me. It definitely does. Because it just goes to show you that there are individuals out there that are continuing to perpetuate, the stigma around weight, and don't fully understand that wellness is just all encompassing, and that it has to come from a place of kindness if it's going to be a lifelong thing that's going to just benefit you. And also, it saddens me because that without having meaningful conversations and being in touch with somebody, professional like Rebecca, who actually cares, we weren't equipped with a way to work through what we were put through. And it was that mentality of stop the excuses. Your current situation is a result of your unwillingness to accept the fact that you're deficient, and the only way to do this is to just buck up and I mean, just that whole, go get 'em type attitude where that landed me back in the same position 5 years after my experience. Actually, worse off because I was now ashamed of the entire person that I was, where before that wasn't the case. And I hate to think that that's what is being shared and put out there, and anybody can do this, and you're just in the way of yourself, and you're going to feel really good about who you are as a whole person, and mountains are going to move once you just address the fact that you are lazy, kind of deal.
Yeah. I.e., he's being a jerk. He's disgusting. He is a part of the problem. He is part of the diet culture. He makes money off of making people feel inadequate. I guarantee you, he doesn't really understand how brains and behavior work. He has learned through the abuse that he endured by being a contestant. And now he is passing on abuse. It's bullying. It's not motivational. Yeah. It's not inspirational. And it's not right.
Yeah. And you know what? I mean, and this person, if you look at them from just physically, has quote unquote been able to keep this off in at least the social media stuff, the weight off, that at least in whatever he chooses to share with the world, and, I wonder how that process has looked for him. And I hope that has been a healthy one for him, and that it concerns me. It worries me, right? Like I'm really worried about this person. And I'm hoping that they're not harming themselves and trying to maintain an image that wasn't necessarily shouldn't have been done the way that it is. I don't know. I'm just troubled. I was troubled by it. I brought it up to you. We've now shared listeners, and I think it's good that we have, because the truth is this is not who you should be aligning yourself with, whether it be a doctor, a trainer, a coach.
Well, here's the thing. Brene Brown, right? I mean, she said it in Rising Strong. I already listened to her new book, the Wilderness book. She talks about what is the most generous assumption you can come up for somebody. And so I think in this scenario, I mean, clearly you're seeing images that are hurting you. And I feel sorry for that. I definitely recommend you unfollow, because it's just crap you don't need. Yeah. Like, let that shit go.
I'm definitely going to.
Yeah.
And it hurts me. Can I be Bernie for a second?
Yeah.
Like, before I've started seeing some of these most recent things, like I genuinely respected this person. And I think the part that annoys me the most is that I just judge the whole thing wrong, because I honestly just felt as though this was a person that was just good all around and this or that. And I didn't realize that they were struggling this much with what true and kind health should be. And I thought that they were more responsible than what I've seen.
I see. So you also feel disappointed in him. Yeah. Well, you had a higher opinion of him.
And in my judgment of him, I mean, I still would like to think he's a great person, the interactions I've had, but what he's showing me, at least through the social media, is just not something that I would want to align myself with.
Should I send him a book?
I would love that.
Just kidding.
But I'm down. See, you know what? You're kidding.
You can bookmark your story in there.
Right, and you're going to address it and just be like, your friend Bernie wanted you to read this. And I'm down. Listeners, please email Rebecca and I if you feel that that's a great approach to take. How about that? Let's see what the responses are. And if we get 20 people that agree that's what we should be doing by just saying send the book, let's just say send the book. You could either take a picture on Instagram, hashtag send body kindness book.
That's a long hashtag.
Just put send the book. Or Rebecca comes up with better hashtags than I do. Like, I'm a hashtag kind of guy.
Just let's have them email you, because we have got that email for you now, Bernie@bodykindnessbook.com.
Yes,
and so let him know how you think, should he say something at all? Should we send him a book with maybe a heartfelt? So what I was kind of saying with Brene is she says make the most generous assumption. And so if I had to come up with something generous, it's that, let's have some compassion for him. And maybe he's still struggling. And right now, what he sees as healthy is by fat shaming. And maybe he needs education and, some compassionate support, or maybe he's just somebody who's not worth your time. So they should email you and let you know.
And I take that. Yes, please email me. And absolutely, I do like that whole benefit of the doubt type thing. And that's truly where I'm, who I am and the approach I want to take in this situation. Because one of the things I did share with you was, maybe I should talk to him first and this or that. And, it just came up and I'm glad it did. And email me, people. Let's make sure we're reversing this and doing our part.
Yeah. I mean, there's nothing wrong by speaking up and using your voice. And sure, you find out what the appropriate way that helps you feel good. But I think for the purposes of the listeners, I mean, we can't unsee diet culture, and it sucks so bad when you're trying so hard to just be good to yourself and be kind and be compassionate and do your best at taking good care of yourself when you're struggling with time and all these other barriers. And then, you get nasty grams from people. Well, it's so unhelpful.
It did anger me because I remember, what our conversations were when we first started podcasting. I know how far I've come. I know that I still have my struggles, which is what we shared and talked about today. But I know that I just feel like a completely different person because I've allowed myself to be kind in this process instead of judgmental throughout the entire way and shame myself. So I was like, dude, you can't undermine what I've gone through. Like, that's not cool.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to share a short little share, and then I'm going to tease up what we're going to do next month for the listeners. But I wasn't planning on doing this, but it is totally related to what you were just talking about and using your voice. So there's this dude in Australia, and I happened to see this woman post about it on my Facebook feed, a Facebook friend, and I was like, can you share with me this link? I literally have to look at what he said specifically. So it's Kaizen Outdoor Fitness, and he says, is it wrong to fat shame? For fitness leaders, it's unconscionable and unprofessional not to. If we are not fattest, then we are not doing our job. And then it goes on and on. For years, we tried to educate and encourage people not to smoke. Being kind to them didn't work. When we had enough and turned smokers into social pariahs, only did the message hit home. Obesity is antisocial behavior. It's costing us billions, denying sick people hospital care. It's addictive and contagious. Keep kids away from fat people. I mean, this is a personal trainer who has this whole boot camp business. And I literally lost my shit when I saw this.
Wow.
I posted, I'm just going to read a couple responses. So I said, who has certified you? You should be reported for unethical, discriminatory practices. I feel sorry for anyone you hurt by spreading lies about people in larger bodies. You should take down this post before causing further harm and educate yourself about weight stigma. Like, he at least deserved a response like that. And then someone else who used to refer to him, who I actually know her as a health at every size practitioner. Gary, I used to recommend your class plans to everyone. I'm horrified by this hateful, ignorant, discriminatory post. Quality fitness trainers require deep care and empathy, neither of which you practice. And we should really keep kids away from hateful bigots. I can no longer support Kaizen. Wow. Then Susan, wow, that's a whole lot of shit right there. Good luck with your business. Please do share the research that you base this repulsive feel pinion. I love Susan. She calls it a feel pinion on. I'll be over here waiting. And then it just goes on and on. Like, people are just like, dude, shut up. And so in that, then can make you feel good, right? Because you take action, you realize you're not alone. Like, clearly this guy is, I don't even know, confused, brainwashed. I can't even say.
I've come across a lot of people that think this way, right? Like, a lot of trainers, a lot of people.
It's a mental sickness.
I get this, but let me go ahead and put my Bernie spin on this, right? Like, man, there's one thing that I learned as an educator is like something like you can't save them all. Like, there's just going to be assholes in this world. Excuse my Spanish. But like, when he says the word fattest, right? Like, it's just, man, like
It's wrong. It's sick.
I'm glad you brought it up. I personally want to go ahead and tell anybody who is close to this gym in Australia or is looking at any of these workouts online,
Boycott
just
it.
stay away.
Mm-hmm.
Stay away from this type of place. It is not where you want to be. There's a lot of guys that walk around slanging their junk, thinking that because they have a chiseled chest or can go ahead and do push-ups on their fingertips, which, by the way, if you can, that's awesome, but that doesn't mean, you should be spreading the fact that fat people are repulsive. Like, just, dude, get a life. That is just some horrible stuff. Listeners, beware of people like this, whether they're trainers or not. Just, you don't need that type of crap in your life.
Exactly. See, and then you could just apply that to other things that you see that bother you. So
dude, that is just shameful.
It is.
That is literally
and
shameful.
One quick thing we'll probably talk about some other time, but it's easy to see that kind of stuff. What we have to have eyes open more for are microaggressions. Oh, congratulations, you're working out. It's like, don't congratulate me. Like, shut up. Leave me alone.
Rebecca, I've seen it. I've literally seen it all. What we're doing here on this podcast, and the listeners that are tuning in, like, we definitely have a responsibility to start changing this. And I can't emphasize enough, and I tell Rebecca a lot sometimes after our recording session how much I appreciate the fact that she's such an advocate for body kindness, the fact that everything that you do is just based on a tremendous amount of research, and it's proven that this approach is what is going to sustain your health long term and just make you a better person to be around, I feel, just more balanced in general. And all our listeners, Rebecca made a good point. Like, we really do have responsibility to make sure that we're turning the tides when it comes to this, because not just for our loved ones in our life, whether, they be our children or brothers, sisters, moms in general, but also, for ourselves. We have to make sure that we're not allowing this to creep in. And I love the fact that you said micro forms of aggression, because literally I've had people, say things like, good for you. I look at you hold that plank. It's like, all right, man. You're like,
like they're surprised that you're strong or something. It's just don't comment. I'll tell you if I want support.
Bend over or touch your toes. It's like, holy crap.
Yeah.
But yeah, we are well on our way turning this around. It's just, it just shows that we have a lot of work to do. And also, again, you can't save them all. And those are just people we distance ourselves from. And the same way that guy talked about, well, if we shame them, then eventually they'll come around. Well, you know what? Maybe if we shame you, eventually you'll.
I know. He clearly has no business helping people at all.
I'm sure there's a lot of grunting that goes on in that gym.
I mean, again, it's usually when you spew hate out, there's a lot of self-hate. It just comes kind of right back to you. But yeah, we do need to wrap up for today. Like I said, I'm always trying to make our chats 30 minutes and they're always an hour. But this is so, we talked a lot about that's going to lead up to our next month. We're going to do another theme, and it's body kindness roadblocks. So we talked a lot about the roadblocks today. It just naturally lined up. You're going to hear from some great people, and you're going to get commentary from Bernie and myself, and we'll reflect at the end of the month. But we are going to talk about the research from a neuroscientist about why diets make us fat, Sandra Amit, and she's awesome. Her TED Talk was listened to over, I think, around 4.7 million times. Awesome. She's kind of a big deal. She knows what she's talking about. We're also going to hear about time barriers. We're going to talk about body image and radical self-acceptance and self-love with Rosie Molinari. And she's a wonderful fellow author and facilitator, and she does a lot of work with teens. I loved having a chance to sit down with her. And then we're also going to talk from one of the trailblazers in fat activism, and I'm super excited for you to hear our conversations. I think it's really going to play nicely into some of what we talked about today, and we'll listen throughout the next month, and then we'll be able to come back and recap some of what we're learning and thinking and applying. So thank you guys so much for listening, and we look forward to connecting with you again soon.
Bye, everybody.
And that's our show. Thank you so much for listening. I would love if you could take a minute and leave a rating and review on iTunes. I know they don't make it very easy, so I have a few quick tips for you. First, launch the Apple Podcast app, and then you're going to click the search button to enter the name Body Kindness, and you'll find my podcast. You'll see the album art. And when you click on the album art, there is going to be a button in the middle at the top. It's called Reviews. Click that. And then when you scroll to the bottom, you will see an option to leave a review. And so you'll click that button and go ahead and write your thoughts. I also would love ideas for future episodes. You can email me, Rebecca@bodykindnessbook.com. Again, that's Rebecca@bodykindnessbook.com. I love chatting about the show and how it's helpful. And so keep those emails coming. And also, if you are not yet completed with the e-course, don't forget that's a free resource for anyone who's interested in practicing body kindness. If you visit bodykindnessbook.com and click on Get Started, just enter in your name and email and you'll get instant access. I'll see you there.